Okay, here's a video on my top tips and tactics for spring bear hunting. Arguably, I am a pretty new spring bear hunter, so I think some of my thoughts would be very applicable because I'm brand new to some of these things. However, I have over 20 years of hunting experience, so I'm pretty experienced. Number one, I would say, is absolutely check out your bear. Make sure he's big. Look at the characteristics, watch him walk, watch him do whatever, and kind of judge his scale based on various obstacles of the land, like trees or maybe your reticle and your rifle scope, something like that. Because I watched this bear quite a bit, and I had no idea he was so small. It just didn't even cross my mind. And he was in such a remote spot. I figured he was a big old slow mover, old bear, and he was quite the opposite. So know your bears, research them ahead of time. Know what a small bear looks like. Know what a cub looks like. Number two, I would say, is pack enough calories, electrolytes, and necessities to sustain high exertion physical activity. My first day I packed 4,000 calories, which is like 2.2 pounds. And then thereafter it was 3,400 to 3,700 calories a day, about 2.1 to 2.2 pounds. And I thought that was a little excessive. But when you're going down and up these mountains every day, chasing bears and going over deadfall and dealing with 70s temperatures, sweating a lot, is really critical you have enough calories. And that was not enough calories. I could have used at least another bar per day, another 2 bars. So in my mind, 4,000 calories a day would have been good for me. Whether you want to pack that much is a different story. As for electrolytes, long ago I looked at the Element website, LMNT. They have the formula for their actual electrolyte mix. I copied that, I bought the ingredients, and I've been making it ever since for about 10 to 15 cents a serving, whereas the normal electrolytes are about $1.50 a serving. So that kind of got me through training, allows me to just slam a whole bunch of electrolytes without thinking about cost. And my electrolytes have a gram of sodium, about, I think it's 300 milligrams potassium, and then 60 milligrams magnesium. And so, on this hunt, I was taking 2 to 3 packets a day in addition to all my food. So my estimation was about 2.5 grams sodium supplemental, and then maybe another 2.5 grams in my food, because those freeze-dried meals usually have about 1 gram of salt. So 5 grams a day, and I believe that was a good balance. Of course, you need water. So let's see right here. You can see behind me I'm at the snow line because I'm early season. So I've been melting snow or just collecting water in the bottom, like whenever I would chase after a bear. And that was a good approach. So just make sure you have enough propane for that. So that was long-winded. Number 3, have 2 camps. Have a camp at your truck and have a camp up here. Because that first bear I shot was towards the bottom, and there was no way I was going to leave the bear in the bottom, come back up to camp for the night, and then go back down, get the bear, and then go out the canyon bottom and back to the truck. My thought was it was way more efficient just to take the bear straight to the truck that night. It was warm anyway. You don't want your bear hanging in the warmth. It was just just inefficient, So having that camp at the truck, when I show up at 10:30 p.m. at night, you just get in your camp, end of story. And then my camp up here just remained for an extra day. No big deal. And then, toothbrushes, everything like that, sleeping bag, sleeping pad, food, just a lot of redundancy. what was that, number 3? So number 4, I would say, is thoroughly understand your mapping software and be able to make logistics off of solid maps. I was using Onyx, and that works great for most situations, but a lot of the aspects on the map are shaded to where you can't even see topographical features. So I also had GoHunt mapping software, and unfortunately that was a little finicky. I don't know what happened. Maybe my downloads didn't work out well. So I just relied on Onyx and just, didn't have the detail within the shaded areas. And so I was able to make logistical decisions based on landmarks and distance and all that. But ultimately, to get down to the bottom of the canyon and back up the other side, maybe halfway on the other side, took me like 2.5 hours. And so you have to look at the bear, wonder if he's going to be there in 2.5 hours, and then go for it and try to check up on him throughout. But it's a long, arduous hike in this kind of country for that. So yeah, it's a huge undertaking. Number, where are we at? 5, I would say be in top physical shape. I train year round. I do multiple training programs. I ski, so I train for skiing. I do endless stuff. I was doing some mountain ops. I was doing Atomic Athlete version 2, trying to mix all that together. And then the bread and butter was hiking around with a heavy pack through Colorado. Did that for the past 2 months, once a week, with it starting out at 50 pounds of weight in my pack all the way up to 80. And off trail as well, because off trail has all the angled footing, which is really hard on your shin muscles and your ankles and your core. And if you're only doing trails that is essentially flat, it might be incline or decline, but it's flat side to side, you're definitely not preparing your body for this kind of country. We're up north, so this is almost as steep as it gets, but then you throw in deadfall and brush with unstable footing, and it's like a whole new ball game. So number 6, I would say, is have a complete day pack. So if you have to bomb off the mountain and be down there until dark, which is like 9 p.m. here, have some extra snacks, have the ability to get water, have those electrolytes. I was carrying my stove, so if I was glassing up high, then I could just make my dinner at 7 p.m. and then glass as I was eating, so I wouldn't have to wait till 9:30. So yeah, have everything ready to go. Emergency stuff too. I had a tarp just in case. I had a puffy with me just in case I had to sleep down there. And then of course a beacon, which I had tracking me throughout. So my wife was watching my every move, which is kind of a weird feeling. Number 7, I would say beacons, absolutely critical. I was also looking into backcountry emergency evacuation services. Unfortunately, ran out of time and did not buy any of that. So the beacon was a big deal. InReach Explorer SE Plus, Explorer Plus. That works out really well. I text my wife multiple times a day. Gives her peace of mind, and it kind of keeps me kind of connected to the world in a way, because there's no cell reception up here. Nowhere. You are disconnected from reality, which is great, but it's nice to be able to talk with somebody, especially when you're solo. So I guess talking to myself on this phone kind of counts as that as well, but it's not the same. Number 8, invest in some good gear. I've got the Cimarron Dyneema back there with the stovepipe. Where is that? Right there. I was anticipating wet weather, and it will be coming in the next couple days, but the stove was useless for the most part. My boots got saturated just from snow at times, and then from hiking so hard. So like putting hot hands in your boots could help instead of a stove. Need a good pack, need good boots. The boots are the big one, because I think my insoles are worn out. I have those green insoles, and my feet were sloshing back and forth. So I had to put Leukotape over 50% of the bottom of my foot, because like my heels would start burning really badly. So my heels are fully taped, and my hips and back are taped with Leukotape as well. I was trying some trail toe ointment for chafing. Found that to work pretty well, but the Leukotape so far has been critical. Yeah, so boots, game bags, knife, all those things. Just think about things that aren't going to fail you. Battery bank, that's a big one. Make sure you have enough juice up here, especially if you're filming your hunt. Number 8, know your area, research it a lot, e-scout it. Do whatever you can to fully understand what you're in for. Despite all of my e-scouting, putting down waypoints, putting down camping locations in multiple areas, sub areas, canyons, all that, I still was unsure what the water levels would be like in these creeks, because I had to cross over numerous creeks to get here, and as the temperatures heated up, the levels kept rising. And so when I came in on Friday, one of the creeks was pretty low, and it's just a down tree that allows you to cross over it. But 3 days later, it was 2 feet higher, and any higher, like more snow melt, or if it rains really hard for 2 days, that log's going to be covered up, and I'm going to have to figure out how to cross that creek, raging creek, and there's no walking across it. So I'm either going to have to wait or do something, because it's a serious problem, and that was a big unknown for me, and so maybe figure that out at a time. Number nine, figure out how to properly skin a bear if you're going to keep that hide for a rug or something else. So I got out in the field, I watched one bear skinning video. I meant to rewatch it right before my trip, and I did not. So I kind of recall that, you start up by the pad, you go down to the elbow, and then you go up the tricep, which is kind of counterproductive because the tricep's on the back of the arm, and then you go to the chest like that, and then you start from the, underneath the jaw, and then go down instead of going up, against the hairline, things like that. Watch a YouTube video or two on how to do that. All right, the final tip, number 10. I would say this is a big one, and it is have realistic expectations. I have a lot of hunting experience. I've done a fair amount of backpack hunting, and I live in Colorado, so I can tackle some pretty gnarly country. And so this was a notch above that even, maybe closer to like sheep and goat hunting. A lot of nasty mountaineering sort of terrain. I was expecting that. I was prepared for that. And, I enjoy that. So my attitude throughout the hunt remained positive, even in the worst, miserable moments of time. Overall, I was still positive about it and still had fun. And I consider this a really fun, memorable hunt. Very successful. Can't complain. Even if I hadn't shot a bear, I would look back on this hunt and say, this was a great hunt. And so if you don't have time to train properly, don't do this. If you haven't dialed your gear and practiced with it, you might be in for something. If you don't have any idea how many charges on your phone a battery bank holds, that's kind of a problem. So, test out your clothing, test out everything. You have to test out yourself, your physical capabilities, and your mental capabilities. And, the ultimate goal is to have a great, fun hunt. That's it. We're out here to have fun. We pay a lot of money to do this. There's time away from family and work. It's a huge commitment. And at the end of the day, you're just out here to make memories and have fun. And so, checking all those boxes can make for a fun hunt.